Thelma ate her babies, all 10 of them. I'd like to blame it on Lou, who used to be Louise. Jack brought them home with him. One misty morning, I marked an X on the calendar, and then I boiled the jug for tea. Polly put the kettle on. Polly is a nickname for Molly, which is a nickname for Mary, which is really my name. Jack calls me Polly, even though I told him I don't like it. Polly Pocket. Polly wants a cracker. Polly Perfect. I'm far from perfect. Just ask Jack or his mother. Jack left for work at 7:45. I didn't have to look at the clock because he leaves at 7:45 every morning, like clockwork. Hickory dickory dock. I noticed a wrinkle in the back of his white shirt. I was glad he couldn't see it. He likes his shirts to be perfect. When we first got married, I thought it was exciting to iron his clothes, until I found out I was doing it wrong. That's not how my mother irons my shirts, he said. I wanted to say, I'm not your mother, but I didn't. His mother showed me how to do it the right way. So Jack left with his wrinkled shirt. It must have been a Tuesday or a Thursday, because those are the days that I work at Everything for Babies. I also work Saturdays, but Jack doesn't, so it wasn't a Saturday. I leave after Jack and get home before him. When nobody's with me, I'm always alone. That afternoon, Jack came home late. He struggled through the door, holding a wire cage and his briefcase. I grabbed the briefcase. Surprise, Jack said. What's that? I asked. Mice, Jack said. Mice? They're for you. Why? They'll keep you company. You could have asked me first. Then it wouldn't have been a surprise, he said. I thought you'd be pleased. I am, I said. I always wanted mice, Jack said. I put them in the laundry on the shelf over the washer and dryer. The laundry is my favorite room in Jack's house. This is the house that Jack built. I moved into it when we got married. Such joy there was at my wedding. My house is your house, Jack said. Jack's walls are beige and his furniture is sturdy and dependable. One day when Jack was at work, I painted the laundry yellow. You should have asked me first, he said. The mice didn't have names yet. Mice are like babies, they don't come with names. Jack told me that they were both girls. The salesman told him. Salesmen should know what they're talking about. I know everything about things for babies. Bottles and bibs and booties, cots and clothing and car seats, prams and pacifiers and playpens. I don't know much about actual babies, except for what I've read. I have 3 books. They're on the shelf in the laundry, beside the mice. I bought What to Expect When You're Expecting the first time I fell pregnant. And I borrowed Dr. Spock's Baby and Childcare from the library 4 years ago. It's overdue. I didn't take it back because I like to reread the part where he says, trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. But my favorite book is The Real Mother Goose. I know all the rhymes off by heart. Inside the front cover it says, to Mary Elizabeth MacDonald on the occasion of her birth. I was born on a Wednesday. I named the mice Thelma and Louise because they look like they wanted to escape, and because Thelma and Louise are my role models. I like to pretend that they pull up in front of Jack's house in Louise's 66 Thunderbird convertible and honk the horn. I only know it's a 66 Thunderbird because Jack told me. He knows much more about cars than me. Come on, they say, hop in. Sometimes I drop whatever I'm doing and run out to the car and into the back seat. Thelma and Louise always sit in the front, but I don't mind, because it's Louise's car and Thelma was her friend first. I like to feel the wind slapping me in the face. It makes me feel alive. Over the hills and far away. But most times I say, I'm sorry, I can't. Jack likes me to be here when he gets home. They understand because they're friends and friends understand. Except for one time when Louise said, is he your husband or your father? She made me cry, but I forgave her. Friends forgive each other. Polly, they're not real, Jack says. Jack doesn't understand. He's an accountant. He likes everything to add up. He also likes to fix things. The first time it happened, Jack held me in his arms. Don't cry, he said. It will be okay. We'll try again next month. Jack was wrong. I found Louise trying to hump Thelma. Thelma didn't look too impressed about it either. She shrieked. They fought and they fit and they scratched and they bit. I think Louise is a boy, I said. How can you tell? Jack said. He won't leave Thelma alone. September has 30 days. I didn't put an X on the calendar, but I don't think Jack noticed. I decided not to tell him. It's a secret. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. I bought a wooden rocking chair for the laundry and painted it white. I like to sit in it and rock and talk to Thelma. Lou just runs around in circles. Thelma stopped pushing Lou away. I think she just gave up. She got fat, and I gave her white tissues. She chewed them up to make a nest in the corner. I think Thelma is pregnant, I told Jack. I guess Louise really is a boy, he said. Should we take them back? Get a refund? No, I said. They're part of the family. You don't get rid of family just because you're disappointed. When I was a little girl, about 7 years old, I thought you bought babies from the store, like ice cream. That was before I found out what little boys are made of. Lots of people bring their babies into everything for babies. They all look much the same, they just have different hair. Some babies don't have much hair, and others have lots of hair, like a monkey. The other day, there was a little girl, and she had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. I'd like a little girl, just like me. Jack wants me to quit my job. It's not as if you have to work, he says. I can take care of you. I like my job. It makes me feel useful. I line up the tiny pairs of shoes all in a row. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Some of the shoes have buckles and some have laces or Velcro. Today is Monday. It's raining. It's pouring. Mondays are wash days. Jack likes his shirts washed separately in nappy sand. White or whites. That's the nappy sand promise. When they are clean and fit to be seen, I iron them just the way he likes them, better than his mother even. How do you do? I asked Thelma as I loaded the machine. Tiny squeaks came from inside the tissue nest. I pushed aside the drifts of white to expose a squirming mass. I counted them, touching each of them in turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I let it go again. The baby mice were naked and pink, like pencil erasers. As the days grow longer, the storms grow stronger. Rain, rain, go away. Jack likes his shirts to dry in the sun all day, but I had to put them in the dryer. It rumbles like an old man snoring. I lie in bed at night and listen to Jack snore. When the clock strikes one, I'm still looking out the window. I see the moon, and the moon sees me. Pat a cake. I made a cake and put it in the oven. Then I washed up the dishes and kept the house clean. When they finished drying, I gathered up Jack's hot, clean shirts. And how do you do again? I asked Thelma. She glared at me. There was no sign of the baby mice. It was as if they were never there. Lou spun his wheel round and round. What goes around comes around. A band of pain tightened around my belly. I sat in the rocking chair, shirts and all, hugging my knees. I can feel Thelma nibbling and Lou spinning inside me. There's blood on Jack's shirts. Blood stains are hard to remove, even with nappy sand. It's all my fault. Rockabye baby. Something's burning, Jack says from the doorway. I lift my head. What's wrong, he asks. Thelma ate her babies, I say. So, the poem that I'm reading is called Cracks. And it's an autobiographical poem as well. My grandmother was a witch. At least that's what my father called her when he was drunk on Jack Daniels and Johnny Cash. She wasn't really a witch, but she was superstitious. And she taught me to avoid black cats and ladders and to fear Friday the 13th, but especially not to step on cracks in sidewalks and to stay away from suspicious interstitial spaces. My grandmother was a fortune teller, but she didn't know her husband would run off with their neighbor, leaving her in limbo with 6 kids and no way to pay the bills except by reading tea-soaked leaves for soul-searching strangers. My father said it was a sham, that she should be ashamed of herself for taking their money in exchange for false hope. But she just gave him the evil eye and socks for Christmas. My grandmother had a voodoo doll with button black eyes. She showed me how to stick pins in all the right places. I collected silver hair from brushes and watched her cast spells and curses to cause pain to ease her own. She used a Ouija board and heart-shaped planchette to teach me how to spell. She taught me well. I won spelling bees and silver dollars for sentimental stories with happy ever after endings. My mother couldn't spell, but she could make believe behind her Jackie Onassis sunglasses. According to my grandmother, my mother had the gift, but she refused to use it. She said she didn't want it. She said it was a curse, that there was nothing worse than knowing the future, because tenses make no sense when you can't change them. My grandmother told my fortune when I was 13 and deemed old enough for tasseographical truth. I drank all but a teaspoonful of the bitter brew and threw sugar over my shoulder instead of salt, for luck. When my grandmother looked into the cup, she paused and said she couldn't see anything. I thought she meant I had no future, but perhaps it was just invisible. Thank you.